Go.
What is going on, peeps? Joshua here, and it is time for another brake job. And this is a 2008 Honda Accord. Now, this is going to be pretty much similar for nearly any vehicle out there. And so first things first, jack the vehicle up. Get it supported on jack stands. Now, when you're doing brake squishies on the calipers, make sure you pop that so that way it relieves any pressure and does not blow any seals. Then the next thing you do, take off the wheels. All right, peeps, wheels off. Here you go. This is a typical caliper setup, as I have shown on numerous videos in the past. Bolt up top, bolt on the bottom. Generally, when you're doing just a pad slap on these vehicles, you can quickly just pop out the lower bolt, and on many of them, just flip the caliper up. Otherwise, you just got to take out the other bolt right there. Now, of course, to make it a little simpler, to slide the caliper off once you get to that point, just give it a little pry with like a screwdriver or very small pry bar, and what that'll do is free it up to slide a little bit, so that'll make it a little bit easier to flip up. And then you locate your tools that you misplaced on yourself because you're brilliant, and then you find out that was not the right one, and then you go, oh, banger, I didn't grab the right socket. I'll return in a minute. All right, and then you grab the appropriate size socket, and don't pull some buffoonery like me and all my nonsense. Give it a tollywop in there. Bolt should come out pretty quickly, peeps. Pretty quickly. Now, if you notice something, these brakes didn't have any of the lubrication in the contact points. That is muy importante to ensure that you get maximum life out of your brakes. Okay, so in this particular case, you do have to take both bolts out because right here, it's just too short, and you really don't want to stress that and pinch that. So what do? Bada bing, bada boom. Get that little tollywop in there, pop that buggery out. Guess what? You will expose the pads. Scope it out, peeps. Drop that out of there. Boom. Set that on up out of the way. You can flip it over. Just remember, when you rotate this back on there, to do it correctly, so you don't twist your brake line there. That would be bad. As you can see, pads are not grinding into the rotor, so that is outstanding. This is the appropriate time to change the pads, and why it's super duper important to listen for those squealer tabs. See that? So it's probably the other side that's squeaking, and chances are it is a little bit more worn down on the other side. We shall find out here shortly. Let me get back to it. I'm going to go ahead and clean these pieces of hardware, unless, scope that out, the new brakes came with hardware, so then I can just go kapow, kapow, and take a big old screwdriver and go skloop, bloop, bloop. So got those out of there, put some new ones in there, lubricate up the brake pads. I shall return it. Peeps, I can't tell you how muy importante this is, but this is one of the most critical ingredients doing a brake job, is to make sure that you lube up the edge of the pad so they'll fit right in there and slide during the duration of their life appropriately. So that way when you release the brake pedal, they will release off the pad surface. So, and there's something else I'll show you here in just a minute when I finish. All right, here are the caliper slide pins, peeps. This is what the caliper goes, squish, 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 squish. They go in here on these bits. You always take those, give them some good spritzings down, give them a good wipings, get them cleaned off, and then make sure you re-lubricate them. All right, that is muy importante. And then, of course, the caliper, if you have the fancy tool, you can just use the fancy tool to depress the caliper piston. Otherwise, C-clamp works, large channel locks work. So there are various other methods for doing this. I just happen to own the tool, and you just simply put in one of the old brake pads in there, and you are good to go. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this done up right quick, peeps, and I shall return. All right, peeps, this side is done. It is time to rock to the other side. Grab a couple little tools here. Bada bing, bada boom. Watch this. Let's get lickety-splickety. All right, here in just a minute, I shall. What's up, peeps? I have a cameraman today. That is stellar. Thanks to neighbor. Yeah, pad's definitely low. Oh, and a little like this there. Boom. Come on. Come on, biggins. Boom. Boom. Lubrication, peeps. I cannot tell y'all how many brake jobs fail because of this right here. Prematurely, I should say. It might last you 20,000 miles, but then all of a sudden you start getting squalling and brake pads all worn out. Nonsense, peeps, nonsense. Alright, that's out of there. Pop that garbage out of there. Not quite the right one, but it'll work. Always want a good mating surface. If you're scared about cancer, don't do this job. Now, there is one component missing on this particular brake job that I'm going to point out. It can be addressed down the road, it's no big deal. But make sure you lubricate that. But, alright, on these brakes with Honda, they're actually supposed to have a little clip that goes between the brake pads. It's non-existent. It's not the worst case scenario. I've seen brakes without them, plenty of Hondas without them. But if you have them, it does help. So that way when you release the brake pedal, it allows the pads to more effectively come off the rotor and separate, allowing it to expand like that. And remember, kiddos, squealer tab, inside pad on the downside. And then have fun fighting the inside one, because it's brilliant. And then in like that, calipers already depressed, you flip it back around, making sure the anti-vibration shield stays intact on the pad. Squeeze your caliper slide pins in, And that, peeps, is a basic pad slab. There's only a couple items left remaining. Of course, get your wheel on to the proper torque specifications. But, swing around here, you can now put your cap back on. Boom, make sure you do that. Give that a good little right there. Doesn't need a whole bunch of, it just needs a little, all right? Just give it a little, don't give it the full, not good. You want to be able to get it off sometime. All right, so done. All right, get the wheel back on. And then I'll show you the very last thing. Well, actually, you know how to put the wheel on, peeps. You know how to put a wheel on, right? You can figure that much out? All right. So the last thing you need to do is come in here and just squish on the brake pedal nice and gently until you have a firm pedal again. And that is a typical brake job. So peeps, all right, as the scriptures say, go love thy neighbors. So take your skills and go help your family, friends, and neighbors and strangers solve their problems. This is Senior. Holler at you later.